Hey y'all, welcome to Feminine Friday. It's like we don't turn into bad bitches. Hey y'all, welcome to Feminine Friday with Regal Essence. So those of you who follow me on my social media, y'all know I'm traveling today. But I had to get on here and do my Divine Feminine video. So this is the last Friday in February. Right? So, I don't know. I may continue doing Divine Feminine Fridays into March. Or, you know, to whenever God tell me to do something different. So, hey y'all, hey. It is Regal Essence with your Divine Feminine Fridays. I am also Life is a Love Goddess. I am Life is a Laid Back Mom. I am your hood therapist. I'm your crystal healer and dealer. So, hey y'all, hey. So, I want to talk to you today about why Divine Feminines affect no matter who it is that a Divine Feminine dates or come in contact with, she is going to affect their life, right? So we're talking about from like the male perspective, right? So the reason why I wish I had a time machine. Time machine, I wanna. How many people wish they had a time machine? If you had a time machine, would you do anything different? Or would you just keep it the same? Would you understand that whatever it is that you went through, you were supposed to go through it, right? To elevate your soul, to put you in a different space in life, or what it is. So yeah, so today we're going to talk about why Divine Feminine affects every man that she comes in contact with, right? And I want to talk to you guys a little bit about self-closure, right? And I want to talk to y'all about spiritual narcissism, okay? So we're gonna roll that all up into this here Feminine Fridays, okay? So, the reason why Divine Feminine affects every man that she comes in contact with is because she's a motherfucking divine. Duh. She is divine, right? So that means she is spiritually protected. The universe loves her. And God has his hand on her life, right? So you can't just come into a Divine Feminine's life and not be affected, right? For the good or the bad. But most times you're going to be affected for the good. But if you choose to cross her, then you might get a little bit into the bad. Because if you cross her, then God is going to have to deal with you. And that's just real, like I'm saying it in like a jokey way, but that's just real shit, y'all. A lot of times men come across Divine Feminines and they feel like they could treat a Divine Feminine the same way they would any other female that they came in contact with. And then they realize that they cannot, because there is a price to pay whenever you screw over somebody that is divine. And that goes for men and women. Like, y'all know I don't discriminate. But we just talking about Divine Feminines today. So, a lot of times, Divine Feminines, when they come in contact with the opposite sex, whether it's dating, whether it's platonic, her ability to be loving and forgiving, unconditional in her love, she's very nurturing, things of that nature, that has an effect on people. She's very giving, right? That is going to have an effect on people. And just the fact that a Divine Feminine is going to be, she's not going to be like anybody you ever came in contact with, right? So she has that effect on people because she's divine. She's sent from heaven, right? She's, what do I say? She's kissed. She's kissed by God, right? So with that being the case, if you screw over a Divine Feminine, and we ain't going to stay on the negative side, but if you choose to screw over somebody that is a Divine Feminine, trust and believe God's going to deal with you, right? So that is one way that she affects every person that she comes into contact with. Because if you choose not to do right by her, then, you know, there is a price to pay for that, right? Also, the fact that she is just, she's going to be different from anybody else that you have ever come into contact with, right? And there's many Divine Feminines in the world, and on the planet, in the universe, right? But it's not a lot. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to come across a divine feminine every day of your life, right? I can only speak for myself with certain things, right? And with a divine feminine comes karma. And if you choose to screw her over or do her wrong, God is going to make you pay the price for that, right? Now, a divine feminine knows that she doesn't have to be out for revenge, because she knows that God is the avenger, right? And she knows that if she came from a church background or a biblical background, she knows that vengeance is the Lord's. So she doesn't have to be sneaky, be deceptive. She doesn't have to exert her own revenge if things don't work out for her. She knows that God is going to take care of anything that she can't take care of. Okay. That is also where self-closure comes into play, because with self-closure, a lot of times those of us who are dealing with people that are narcissistic, they don't like to give you closure in a relationship, and they do that so that you can always be hanging on to them, so that you can always feel like you have unfinished business, or you can just, like, the relationship always ends very suddenly. It always ends with some type of abandonment or some type of I'm not calling you, some type of ghosting or something of that nature. And it makes it hard for you to be able to formulate what exactly happened. So that's when we get into self-closure. And I wanted to talk to you guys about that. Self-closure is basically whenever you realize that, like, okay, the relationship is over. They're not going to give me the closure that I want or need. So I have to find closure within myself, right? I have to come to terms with how things ended. And a lot of times, like, the way to find self-closure is to realize that, like, okay, so regardless to anything, this relationship is not working out for me. Like, what is it that I'm looking for in a relationship, a person, out of life, right? And if they're not giving you that, you have to be able to have the ability to say, okay, well, this is not serving me, so I have to walk away from this. I have to end out this cycle in my life, right? That oftentimes is very hard for people to do, because naturally humanly, right, we need closure, we need understanding as to, like, what happened and things of that nature. But oftentimes, if you're dealing with narcissistic people, they're not going to give you that closure, okay? So you have to be able to find that closure in knowing that, okay, these are the things that I want from a person, these are the things that I want from a mate or in a relationship, because it can be platonic or it can be romantic. These are the things that I want in a relationship, and they're not giving me these things. So I choose me. I choose myself, and I choose that I want something better for myself, right? And with that being the case, I can find closure. My closure is that this is not serving me, right? And I can move on in confidence in knowing that if these are the things that I want and these are not the things that I'm getting, then I need to close out this cycle in my life, this relationship, this situation, whatever the case may be, right? When you find self-closure, that means you go within, you do your inner work, right? And it takes a higher level of thinking, a higher level of consciousness. When you find your own self-closure, right, you find it within yourself. You don't find it within that person. So when that person decides that they want to come back or backtrack and give you that closure, or bust the wound right back open again, or whatever the case may be, they're going to find they don't have access to you. Why? Because you have closed things out for yourself. You've closed things out universally with yourself, spiritually with yourself. So the only way they have access to you again is if they go through God, right? That's another reason why divine feminines always affect every person, man or female, or relationship that they come into contact with, because they have so much peace and assurity within themselves, right, that they can stand on their own premises, on their own, they can stand on the things that they want to see for themselves, right? They can set their own goals and what things they're going to accept and not accept, right? And that person, those people, those relationships, those situations, they cannot penetrate that. And even if they do, it's going to be only for a moment. And then she's going to realize that, hey, this isn't working for me, right? And she's going to do what it is that she needs to do to move on, close out that cycle, or whatever the case may be, right? So that gives people, that no longer allows people to have access to her, right? So the only way to her is to go through the spirit realm, right? The only way to her is to really fight through your issues and the messy shit that happened that caused her to put you on the outside in the first place. In order to do that work, in order to come into that alignment with self, you have to change, right? That is how a divine feminine changes and affects any and everybody that she comes into contact with, okay? Now, lastly, let's talk about spiritual narcissism, right? I see this so very often. I talk a lot about narcissists, right? But what I realize is that it's not something that I realize. I know this to be true. There's a such thing as spiritual narcissism, right? Spiritual narcissism is when you use spiritual things, spirituality, in order to be able to get your supply, because narcissists are always looking for a supply, right? Oh, excuse me, y'all. They're always looking for a supply, right? So instead of getting it in a toxic way like most narcissistic people do, spiritual narcissists, they get their supply, they get their fix, right? From being very spiritual in nature and coming off very spiritual and good and love and light and all of that kind of stuff. But really, they're just looking for supply. They've just chosen to go a way that seemingly is less toxic. They use spirituality to get that fix, to get that attention, to get that supply that they need in order for them to know who it is that they are, right? How can you tell a spiritual narcissistic person? They want from you. They want the attention. They want the feedback. But guess what? They have very little to give back to you, right? That's the first indicator. They have very little to give back to you. For example, some people, they have these channels and they want people to comment and all of this kind of stuff. But then guess what? You comment on their stuff. You're doing the same thing that they're doing, but they never show you any love, right? Or they're vying for all these comments and follows and things of that nature, but yet they don't acknowledge they people. How you want me to comment under your stuff, but then when I comment, you don't even reply. You have nothing to say. Like you ain't giving me no feedback or nothing, right? They just need that supply. Spiritual narcissism. Okay, you guys. So yes, that has been your Feminine Fridays. I am traveling. I am in New York with the love of my life, my pootie stir. But I still wanted to come and give you guys your Feminine Fridays, the last Feminine Fridays in February. But I'm probably going to continue it on into March. But God is going to have to give me some topics, because when I started Feminine Friday, He gave me the 4 topics. He gave me the 4 topics that I was going to speak on, and I've done that. I've done it. So now He's going to have to give me 4 more, 4 more topics, and then we're going to keep on rolling and rocking with it. So yeah, you guys, if you're watching this video, do me a favor, share the video, leave a comment. I always reply. Like the video so you can send it through the YouTube algorithm. Like said, share it with a friend. Follow me on my social media. I am on Instagram. I'm no longer on any other platform outside of YouTube and Instagram. Follow me at Regal Essence Affirmations and Regal Essence Queen TV. I hope this message has helped you guys. I love y'all. Bye.